Welcome to the MBR Markets preview today, and this is a report that's part of our RO, UF, and MF reverse osmosis, ultrafiltration, and microfiltration report. But we've singled out a market which is very big for basically the ultrafiltration and the microfiltration membranes. And this report looks at the entire revenue potential for the system suppliers as well as for those that are just selling the membranes. And this is an adjunct to our reverse osmosis report, which we will tell you a little bit about later too. But the report itself goes into the technology. It talks about the market is going to be a $7 billion market. A lot of the technology is analyzed from the standpoint of municipal wastewater flows in every country, and then how we derive the potential MBR market. This is a supplement to the ROUFMF report, and we have summaries and profiles initially for companies from A to G, and we're continuing to add additional companies in this continuing subscription for which is based on a 1-year payment. And then so we have the market profiles of all the suppliers. The point that we'd like to make here is that by aggregating the market shares of all the suppliers, we have a factual basis for determining the accuracy of our iterated numbers. So we know the cost of MBR theoretically in millions of dollars per million gallons a day, and we can make the calculations. But by actually adding up the revenues of the suppliers, we can match the calculations to actual numbers. And we are forecasting these by year through 2024. And the refining industry is one that we are making these forecasts. And there will be healthy growth in that industry with the use of MBR as well. So the other industries includes mining and some of the other areas here. But we've gone through the various different companies and analyzed their activities. And there's several things that I'd like to point out, that when it comes to certain companies like ADI, Evoqua, and so forth, there is a lot of good information in their financial reports that can be matched to the numbers that we're coming up with here. So these larger companies do provide a fairly good basis for revealing how active they are in these areas. Also, the companies tend to provide references, and somebody like Beijing Origin, for instance, not only has their financials, and this is a very good company to be looking at because they're very large in this area. They dominate the Chinese MBR market, but they also have financial statements that are available, and they are on a stock exchange, and so they are a very large company. As you can see now, they've had sales as large as $2 billion a year, and much of it in this area. The other aspect is that they are a very large supplier in terms of size of plants. So some of the largest plants in the world that use MBR have been installed by Beijing Origin, and they are also operating some of these plants. So they're a major player in the whole MBR marketplace. And so this gives you an idea of what some of these profiles look like. Go on to the Excel spreadsheets that you get as part of the program. So for instance, here would be the refining market. And what we've done is we've divided the world into 80 segments. There are 72 countries, and then there are, in some of the areas, we have subsegments, other Western Europe, other Eastern Europe, for instance. So there are a number of countries in other Eastern Europe besides Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Hungary, and Romania and Slovakia. And we've grouped them together, and their combined purchases of MBR are significant only as a group. So we've then got them aggregated by region and continent, and therefore, as you search with this program, you can view numbers in the aggregate by continent or region or by individual country. This is all part of the ROUF-MF World Markets report. And this report has been produced by the Mcilvaine Company for many, many decades. In fact, it was not long after the first RO system was designed by Dean Spatz that we started looking at this market. So that's been many decades ago. And over the years, we've built up thousands of pages of analysis. And as you can see on the left-hand side, we're getting into all the different technologies of food and beverage, and even down to Coca-Cola's holistic report, everything that the bottler companies are doing with RO for ultra pure, for the water that they're bottling, and then all these different types of food and metal plating, and degreasing and cooling, and the various different mining applications. And we have a networking directory, as you can see at the top here, with the companies. We have profiles and financials, and we have specific installation analyses on UFMF installations. We have an intelligence system with the links to the papers that are being presented. We have the company profiles and financials, and then we have the forecasts. Let's wait a minute till this forecast arrives here to be displayed. And you can search by industry. You can search by a type of subject, which would be the equipment or the membranes for each of the efficiencies, RO, UF, and so forth. You can switch, look at the different continents. You can look at the different regions, and then you can look at the different countries. So if you want to take a overview by country, you just click here, and this gives you a mix of all the UFMF and RO, but it is by country. There is also the opportunity to look at the specific industry analyses that go along with it. So, for instance, for the food industry, again, we track every country of the world and how much food processing is going on. In fact, we're refining this even further to where we're dividing food into a number of different areas. First, edible oil would be one area, as opposed to dairy and opposed to beer and wine. But take the edible oil, and then that itself is broken down into corn oil, palm oil, and so forth. And of course, with palm oil, your big markets are Indonesia, big producers are Indonesia and places like that. Corn oil, they would obviously be the U.S. and other areas. So this refinement of all these numbers into these other very smaller segments becomes very useful as well. But this MBR report, which is an adjunct to the RO report and is actually being included as part of it, and there's no additional charge for it, is a very important, fast-growing segment of the cross-flow membrane market. And this is Bob Mcilvaine of the Mcilvaine Company, and I would certainly welcome any questions that you might have, and you can get a hold of me personally at 226-2391. And thank you for your attention today.